Good morning. So as you can see, sorry, the dog is just spinning me around. As you can see, it's another quite nice day. I promise I'm not deliberately selecting these days to come out and do a video. Just luck. I do look forward to my first rainstorm video. That may or may not happen. I might have to do that from another location. So hope you've had a good week. If you haven't been catching up with the shorter form videos through the week, then feel free to go back and do that just now. They're not on YouTube, but they are on all the other social platforms. So this week's been related to Mental Health Awareness Month, so it's been all about giving yourself permission to do certain things, which has been a bit of a theme over the past couple of weeks of exploring different topics to do with how the things that tend to get in our way are actually more to do with our own mindset than actual physical life limitations. Often we put the own limitations on ourselves. That wasn't very good English, but hopefully you know what I mean. So I thought what I would talk about this morning was transition routines, because I referred to those in last week's video and I said I would talk about them more at some point in the future. So this was a concept that I was introduced to by the coach and mentor that I am in a group with, James Boardman, a very good guy, and he was ex-military, so has really found that when he left the military that he floundered a bit without that structure and routine, and bringing that back in again has been a big benefit to him, and that's really a lot of what he bases his day-to-day life on, essentially. And so when I started his programs a couple of years ago, I really noticed the benefit for me as well, and there's probably other reasons why I quite enjoy the structure and routine related to probable neurodiversity, but again that's probably a topic of discussion for another week. I did do a series of short posts on all the social media platforms about this before, so if you're interested to read about that, go back and see if you can find them. So structure and routine outside of my job, outside of my hospital job, which is exceedingly chaotic at best. Sorry, the dog's trying to tie me up in knots. Yeah, my job is chaotic. You can apply systems to things, and that definitely helps. Sorry, just wrestling with the dog who's being a pain in the bum. So you can apply systems to certain things, but there's a lot of it that I can't control, and sometimes that's quite tricky. But there's other aspects to my probable neurodiverse brain that thrives in that environment, but again that's a topic for another day. So transition routines is about getting yourself in the right mindset for whatever task you're about to take on, essentially. So previously what I would have done would have been get up as late as humanly possible. This was in the pre-children era. Get up as late as humanly possible, do the bare minimum that I had to do to get ready for work, travel into work, probably listen to some music, get into work, and then I would often find that it took me a little while to get into the work mode. And then similarly at the end of the day, you may recognise this from what I'm describing, that you go home at the end of the work day and you're still in work mode. And that's, it's not a huge issue if you live by yourself and you can pretty much dictate your own destiny, then that's fine. But if you're coming home to a partner, to kids, flatmates, friends, that kind of thing, that can be a bit more of an issue. If you're coming home in work mode, then it can really affect the way you show up in that environment. So how do we get ourselves into the right mindset for the right environment? So we use a transition routine. So I'll just describe to you what I do. I'm going to deliberately skip over things like morning and evening routines, which is also something I do, but we'll maybe talk about that in a future video in more detail. So normally, if I'm working a typical during the day shift, I'll usually get up quite early, I try and ensure that I get at least 7 hours sleep, but that doesn't always work out, and it's not something entirely within my control. I have a morning routine, which I'll talk about another time. And then when I'm heading into work, I am thinking about what do I need to do to get into the work mindset. So what I tend to do is use the commute to work. So if you've got a commute to work, this is an ideal way to use that time. And I will listen to a podcast, usually, that's medical in nature. So by the time I arrive at work, I'm in that kind of medical mode. I try and go through the same kind of steps in terms of what I do when I arrive, but again, that's not always fully within my control. So that's how I get into work mindset. Then when I'm leaving work, I'm trying to leave work behind. So there is the odd occasion, and certainly when things have been quite stressful, especially lately, and on occasion in the past, I found myself almost gripping the steering wheel with tension on the way home and really kind of ruminating on how work has been. And that's far from ideal. So I want to be getting myself out of that mode if I can. And so what I normally do is try and clear my mind out. So I have about where I normally have to park at work is about a 5-minute walk away. So between the front door of work and where my car is, it probably takes me about 5 minutes to walk there. So I use that to start digesting what's happened in the day if I haven't had a chance to wrap up at the end of the day. And then I need to listen to something, because I like to listen to podcasts or music or something, so I listen to something non-medical, something quite light-hearted. So it's quite often I prefer a sort of comedy, light-hearted podcast that I can listen to, just to kind of transition me out of the work mode and into a mindset where I can show up more as the husband, as the dad. So I'm not going home and immediately ranting about what's been going on during the day. So yeah, that's normally what I do. If I don't do that, then I just run the risk of going home, that kind of tight, gripping the steering wheel, don't know why I keep calling it a steering wheel tense. It taken me an hour or two to really kind of wind down, because generally that period's quite busy. It's dinner, get sorted for the next day, get the kids sorted for bed, and then try and just squeeze that hour in of relaxing at home. So it's really important to do that. A coaching session I had recently with someone, and that was one of the things they had talked about, if you refer back to last week's, was that was part of the reason why they were probably why they were drinking too much alcohol, or more alcohol than they would like to in the evening time, was because they were just very worked up. And that was one of the things we had discussed, was how can you build in a transition routine at the end of the day. And that was broader than just how do you relax when you get home from work. It was actually just in general, how do you get into that work mindset so that you're going to show up to the degree that you want to show up when you get to work, and then how you're going to relax and get into home mode. So that's transition routines really, and you can modify that to whatever suits you really and whatever you like doing. But I would certainly recommend it. So have a little think just now. Have you got any transition routines? What do you like to do in the morning and the evening time? I'm sorry, I've just disappeared into the shadows. See you soon.